Hello, and welcome to the Help for Program for Wind Chill Calculations programming. This program is going to be exciting. It is different from the other programs that you have written in that we are going to use functions, and we are also going to have 3 files in this program. As you can see, I've created my project, Nelson P4. Here's my name, email, program name, and file name. I've done my pound includes for main, IOStream and string, and using namespace. And here's int main with return 0. Just waiting for me to put some code in there. However, this time we're going to have to do more than just the driver. We're going to follow the spec and break our code up into functional units, into modules, where when we want one thing done, we can call a function. In the spec, there are a lot of conditions that are set and a lot of description that's there for us. And here's how it says the program flow will go. The program will first show your class header and then begin a do-while loop, calling functions to ask the user to enter the temperature and the wind speed. Then call the validate temperature and wind speed, which returns an integer. If the values are within range, then you call wind chill and time to frostbite. Otherwise, you do not. You report that the value is out of range. Finally, ask the user if they want to do more calculations and say goodbye when they're done. So in order to really get a good start on this program, we need to add our functions. Let's take a look at those. First, we're going to need some files to put them in. So I'm going to go up to header files here, and I'm going to right-click, add new item. It's a header, and I'm going to call it functions.h. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the pragma once, because what we're going to do first is put our, it's kind of like our header, but what it is identifies this program as our program. Okay, so we're going to need include guards. What this means is if not defined. This is a preprocessor directive, and we are taking our functions.h name, putting it in all caps to make a unique identifier for this file. So if this file has not been read before by the compiler, it's going to be read and defined. So that's the next line, pound define. Here we are, functions.h. And then the end of the if right here is an end if. Okay? So it's a little bit different in if statement than you're used to writing, but this is one that we use with the preprocessor. And what it does is make sure that the compiler does not redefine any of your functions. So what goes in the functions.h file? Well, it contains your function prototypes. That's for sure. And also, if you have any constants, that's a good place to put them also. So, what do the prototypes look like? Well, I'm going to copy and paste these so you don't have to watch me painfully typing them. The first one is double ask for temperature. So in this function, we're going to ask the user for the temperature, and we're going to return the temperature. In ask for wind speed, we're going to ask the user for the wind speed and return that. invalidate temperature and wind speed. We're going to pass the temperature and the wind speed into the function, and we're going to check that they are valid values. And we're going to return an integer which tells the user if they're valid, and if not, what happened. Then there's calculate wind chill. That's pretty straightforward. We did that in our test cases. We need the temperature and the wind speed to calculate the wind chill. And then determine frost times. Again, we're going to pass the temperature and the wind speed and calculate the frost time. So these are the prototypes that the compiler will look for to define the functions. We're also going to need a functions.cpp file, and I'm going to create that now. Make it the same name as your functions.h. And what did there we go. I'm going to take these first few lines and copy them and put them in my functions.cpp file. I'm also going to pound include functions.h because the implementation of the functions is going to need to see the prototypes. Now these are the functions that were described in the spec, but I'm going to add one more, and that is void write header. There's no reason not to do that here as well. You can do it in your main, but how much nicer to just call the function. Now in order to write the implementation or the function bodies, I'm going to copy these function header lines into the functions.cpp. I'm going to immediately delete all these semicolons because all they can do is hurt you. And I'm going to put brackets in for all of the functions. That won't take care of all of our problems because we have to return some variables, but that gets us set up for writing our program. So let's look at the description of the functions. Let's see, we have, try it there, make this big enough to see but not to take up the whole, there we go. Okay, ask for temperature, ask the user for the temperature and returns the value. Ask for wind speed, ask for the wind speed. Okay, we can do those pretty lickety-split, can't we? Cout, please enter the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that was pretty straightforward. And then we're going to cin. Oh, we have some problems. Cout and cin have red squigglies. They say they're undefined. Why do you think that is? I think it's because we didn't include IOStream. In addition, we're going to need our using namespace standard. Now everybody's happy. Okay, here's my problem though. I need something to cin to. I have no variable. So I'm just going to have to make one. Temperature is going to be an integer. Okay? And so I'm going to cin to temp. And I'm going to do a cin.ignore. Just to be safe. And then I'm going to return temp. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Ah, I can't believe I did that. Okay, and I put it into wind speed too. You know, there we go. So this is ask for temperature, not write header. What does write header look like? Put your name, program for wind chill. Okay, and etc. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, so there's your header. Okay, this was pretty straightforward, and we're going to have to do ask for wind speed. Okay, validate temperature and wind speed. Well, how are we going to do that? They're going to be passed to us, and what is it going to mean to validate? Well, let's look at the spec again. It says here, the wind chill can only be calculated if the wind is blowing 5 miles per hour or faster, and the temperature is 40 degrees or colder. Okay. And then we're going to return an integer. Let's see what it says over here in the validate. Returns an integer value which indicates correctness. 0 could be all okay, 1 is both invalid, 2 is temp invalid, 3 is wind speed invalid. I think I'm going to do that, and I'm going to copy that and put that in a comment over here in validate. Okay, let's go back here. Validation codes. I'm just going to say that's what they are. 0 is all okay. I'm just going to use those. Now we know what the conditions are, don't we? If, and these are the variables that we're going to use inside our function, temp and speed. If we go back to driver, oh, we haven't made any variables in driver, so we don't have to worry about that. But these are the variables that are valid in the scope between these two braces. This function has its own like room, and each function has its own room, and you can't talk directly from room to room. You have to pass things through the door. So let's check temp. If temp is greater than 40, because what was the requirement? The temp needs to be 40 or colder. So if it's greater than 40, then something is invalid. So let's make a code, int valid code. And I'm going to start out with 0. 0 means it's okay. If any of the conditions that would make it invalid are true, then it will change it. And for the temp to be invalid, that would give me a 2. And let's see, I can check to see if the wind is invalid, and that means that it's less than 5. Okay, because it says the wind must be blowing 5 miles per hour or faster. Then the valid code is going to be 3. And then we need a check if temp and wind speed are both invalid. You're going to be able to do this in a couple of ways. You can do both of them together, or you can do nested if statements. I'll let you make that decision. At any rate, we are going to return valid code. Okay, so we've got it part way done. Now let's look at calculate the wind chill. Well, that one's pretty straightforward. We did that calculation, and all we're going to do is perform the calculation. Probably I'm going to make a temporary variable again. I'm returning a double. Double wind chill is equal to whatever. whatever it's going to be. This is where you put in calculation. I guess I'll just do it that way. And then what are we going to do? We're going to return wind CH. I guess I better not do it that way. There we go. And then this one's a comment. It's your calculation. All right. So you're going to return this wind chill. And you know how to do this calculation. You did it already in your test cases. And now we come to the most difficult calculation, which is the frostbite times. And that one, when I did the demo for the test cases, I showed you how to break the calculation up in pieces. Do you remember that? Okay, how did we do that? Double part 1 is equal to, now what is this going to be? It's going to be wind SP. See, up here we call it speed, and down here we call it wind SP. We could call it anything. We could call it George or Bob. They wouldn't make any sense, but the computer would not care. The compiler doesn't care. So the wind speed times 8.0 divided by 5.0 times 0.667. And then I'm going to say double part 2 equals part 1 plus 4.8. Remember how we did this? Okay, and here it's going to be times what? Minus 24.5. And then we're going to add 2,111. So you're going to continue until you have a calculation for the time to frost. Make sure your time to frostbite is an int. So you're going to end up with a double, and you just need to cast it into an int when you're done, and then return it. Okay, so look, we've handled all the functions, just about. The wind speed is going to be no big deal. It's going to be just like asking for temperature. So now let's look at main, see what we're going to do here. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is display our header. And instead of cououting, we're going to call our function write header. Well, look at that. I have red squiggles. It says it's undefined. Why is that? Because main, which is in a different room from your functions, which are each in a different room, can't see what you wrote. So we are going to show main all of these prototypes, and then it will recognize the functions. So up here, I'm going to pound include functions.h. And look at that. Life is good. We have to only include functions.h. We never include a CPP file. There's no reason for that. Okay, so now let's declare some variables to use in main. Double temp, W speed, wind chill, int frostbite time. Okay, I'm going to do string answer for equals yes for my do while loop. And so now I'm going to open the loop. Okay, so what do I do first in the loop? I call ask for temperature. Ask, and see the IntelliSense picks up your function. Now, ask for temperature returns a double, doesn't it? If you don't give it a double to receive the value it's returning, it will disappear, literally. So this is temp equals. We are going to assign ask for temperature, the double, into this variable. We're going to do the same with call ask for wind speed. I guess these are all in one. Okay, and so what's the wind speed? It's W speed. Ask for wind speed. There you go. So wind speed returns a double that's assigned into the wind speed variable, and you can use it here. Now we're going to validate the data. That's the data that the user gave us. Int return code. We need to have an integer to receive the int that's going to be returned from our validate function. Return code is equal to validate temperature and wind speed. When I put in the opening parentheses, Visual Studio is very nice. It tells us that we need to pass a temperature and a speed. This is the prototype for the function. So temp is pretty simple. Here's temp. Speed, well, we have W speed. You can't use this. You can only use what you know in the function you're in. Okay? So we're passing it temp and W speed, and these are the ones that have values that we got from the user. Now we're going to check the return code, and there's a couple of ways to check it. You can check using if, else, or switch, and I just really like switches. So I'm going to switch on my return code. Okay, do I have a case 0? Yes, I do. What does it mean? Both are valid. Okay, so if both are valid, what do? I call calculate wind chill and determine frost time. So wind chill, wind chill, which is my variable, where is it? Right here. Is equal to, oh, I have too many winds, look at that. There we go. Wind chill is equal to calc wind chill. And what do I have to pass? Temp and W speed. These are deliberately not the same names all the time. Even though we are using a variable called temp over here in main, this temp bears no relationship to this temp right here, or this temp, or this temp, or this temp. They are all separate variables, and they each have their own location in memory. That's why we have to keep passing them back and forth so the other function can see them. Okay, the other one we're going to look for is frost. Oh, I can't spell either here. Frostbite time is equal to, and what's our function name? Determine. And what are we going to pass again? Temp and W speed. Okay, now we are going to display the results of the calculations to the user. And comment if frostbite, oh, that's not what I wanted. Is greater than 30, it is not an immediate threat. Yeah, I guess not. Okay. So otherwise, we're going to tell the user time to frostbite. For wind chill, tell the user the temp and wind speed and how cold it will feel. And how cold will it feel? That's the wind chill. Okay, so you've completed that, and what do we do in a switch? We need to break. Well, there. And now we're going to look at case 1. So what's case 1? Neither temp nor wind speed are valid. So we're going to see out that message. Neither temp or wind speed is valid. And I believe that's what case 1 is. I might have to go back and check, but or out of range. Out of range of the equation. Case 2. What's invalid in case 2? You know, I might just copy these. Okay, case 2. Temp is out of range. So what am I going to do? See out the message about temp. And case 3, we know that wind speed is out of range. See out the message. Okay. So what do we have left? We have to finish our do while loop, and in order to do that, we're going to ask the user if they want to go again. And then we're going to get, what did I call it? Answer. And then this, I believe, yes, is the end of the do while, so while, okay, answer is equal to yes. only spell yes better. Okay, and then what do we do here? Say goodbye. All right, so there's our program. We've written the wind chill program using functions in separate files. So you're going to have 3 files to turn in. It really won't make any difference to how you turn it in because you're just going to remove the .vc folder, the debug folders, zip your project with all the files in it, and then upload it. Okay, well, that's our program, and I'll see you for program 5.